The hospital hallway was full of noise that morning. Nurses walked quickly from room to room. Machines beeped. Phones rang. People talked in low voices. It was just another busy day at Mercy General Hospital. Dr. Marcus Williams adjusted his white coat and checked the file in his hands. He was calm, focused, and ready. He had already seen 3 patients that morning. All of them trusted him. All of them thanked him. Room 214 was next. Inside that room was Mr. Robert Thompson, a 70-year-old man with chest pain and high blood pressure. He had been brought in during the night. The nurses said he was difficult. He had already argued with 2 staff members. Dr. Marcus took a slow breath and knocked gently on the door. "Good morning," he said as he walked inside with a small smile. "I'm Dr. Williams. I'll be taking care of you today." Mr. Thompson looked up from his bed. For a few seconds, he said nothing. He just stared. His eyes moved from Marcus's face to his hands, to his white coat, and back to his face again. Then his lips tightened. "Where is the real doctor?" Mr. Thompson asked. Dr. Marcus kept his smile. "Sir, I am the doctor assigned to you." The old man let out a short laugh. It was not a kind laugh. "You," he said slowly, "you look like a kid." The nurse standing beside the bed froze. The room suddenly felt smaller. Dr. Marcus had heard many things before. He had heard people question his age. He had heard people doubt his experience. But the way Mr. Thompson said it, it was different. It was not about age. It was about disrespect. "I assure you, sir," Marcus replied calmly, "I am fully trained and here to help you." Mr. Thompson shook his head. "No," he said firmly. "Send me someone else. I don't want a kid playing doctor with my life." The nurse looked down at the floor. She felt embarrassed, angry, but she did not speak. For a brief moment, the hallway noise outside seemed to disappear. The air inside the room felt heavy. Dr. Marcus stood still. His face did not show anger, but inside something hurt. He remembered being 10 years old and telling his teacher he wanted to be a doctor. The teacher had smiled politely and said, "That's a big dream." He remembered being in medical school and being mistaken for the janitor more than once. He remembered patients asking to see someone more experienced. He had worked harder than most people could imagine. Long nights, no sleep, no social life, just books, exams, and training. And now here he was again, being reduced to a word: kid. Dr. Marcus gently placed the patient's file on the table. "Mr. Thompson," he said in a steady voice, "your blood pressure is high, and you came in with chest pain. It's important that we check your heart carefully." "I said no," the old man interrupted. "Get me a real doctor." Before Marcus could respond, something changed. The heart monitor beside the bed gave a sharp, loud beep. Then another. Then it began to beep very fast. The nurse looked at the screen. Her face turned pale. "Doctor," she whispered. Mr. Thompson suddenly grabbed his chest. His breathing became short and fast. Sweat formed on his forehead. "I can't breathe," he gasped. The heart monitor numbers began to jump wildly. Everything that happened next moved quickly. Dr. Marcus stepped forward without hesitation. "Raise the head of the bed," he ordered calmly. "Get oxygen. Call cardiology now." His voice was no longer soft. It was strong, clear, controlled. The nurse moved instantly. Mr. Thompson's face changed from anger to fear. His hands shook. The beeping grew louder. Dr. Marcus checked the patient's pulse. It was weak and uneven. "Sir, stay with me," Marcus said firmly. "Look at me. Keep your eyes open." The old man's eyes met his. For the first time, there was no pride in them, no judgment, only fear. Dr. Marcus's hands moved with confidence. He adjusted the oxygen mask. He checked the monitor. He made fast decisions. Outside the room, more staff rushed in. No one called him kid now. No one questioned who the doctor was. Because in that moment, there was only one thing that mattered: saving a life. The heart monitor suddenly gave a long, sharp sound. The nurse looked at the screen again. "Doctor." But Dr. Marcus was already acting. Clear space, he said. And in that powerful, life-changing moment, the man who had doubted him was now depending completely on the very person he had refused just minutes before. The room that once felt full of judgment was now filled with urgency. And the truth about who Dr. Marcus really was about to come out in a way no one would ever forget. Long before anyone called him kid in a hospital room, Marcus had been a quiet little boy sitting at the back of a classroom. He grew up in a small neighborhood where dreams were often smaller than the houses. Most people around him worked simple jobs. Many families struggled to pay bills. Sirens at night were common. Big success stories were not. But Marcus was different. When he was 8 years old, he saw something that changed him forever. His mother collapsed in their kitchen one evening. She had been working double shifts for weeks. She was tired. Too tired. Marcus remembered the fear in his chest as he tried to wake her up. At the hospital, a doctor saved her life. Marcus never forgot that moment. The doctor spoke calmly. The doctor moved with confidence. The doctor brought hope back into a room full of fear. That night, Marcus made a quiet promise to himself. One day, he would wear that white coat. But the road was not easy. In middle school, some students laughed at him when he said he wanted to be a doctor. One boy said, "People like us don't become doctors." Another said, "That's for rich kids." Even one teacher looked at him and said gently, "Maybe you should think about something more realistic." More realistic. Those words stayed in his mind for years. But Marcus did not argue. He did not shout. He did not fight back with anger. He fought back with work. He studied every night. While other kids played outside, he read science books. While others slept, he solved math problems. He did not have private tutors. He did not have money for expensive programs. He only had discipline. In high school, things became harder. He was one of the top students in his class. But when college applications came, he heard whispers. "Medical school? That's too much. Do you really think they will accept you?" But Marcus filled out every form. He wrote every essay carefully. He applied for scholarships because he knew his mother could not afford the cost. When the acceptance letter finally came, his mother cried. Not because she was surprised, but because she knew how hard he had worked. Medical school was another battle. He was often the only black student in his class. Sometimes when he walked into a study group, people looked at him with doubt. Once, during training at a hospital, a patient refused to let him examine her. She asked for someone more experienced. Marcus was in his final year. He was fully trained, but he was still seen as less. There were nights when he sat alone in his small apartment, feeling tired and frustrated. He asked himself if all this work was worth it. But then he remembered his mother lying on that kitchen floor. He remembered the doctor who saved her. And he continued. He graduated near the top of his class. When he finally became Dr. Marcus Williams, he did not celebrate loudly. He did not brag. He simply stood in front of a mirror, looked at himself in the white coat, and whispered, "You made it." But becoming a doctor did not end the challenges. In his first year at Mercy General Hospital, some patients questioned his age. Some asked if he was really the doctor. A few even asked if he was a nurse. Every time, he responded with calm respect. He learned something important. Anger changes nothing. Excellence changes everything. He decided he would let his actions speak. He worked longer hours than required. He treated every patient with care, even the rude ones. He listened carefully. He explained clearly. He stayed late when families were worried. Slowly, people began to trust him. Nurses respected him. Other doctors valued his opinion. Many patients thanked him deeply. But there was one thing he could never fully control: other people's prejudice. And now, in room 214, as machines beeped loudly and Mr. Thompson struggled to breathe, all those years of training, pain, and hard work were coming together in one powerful moment. The same boy who was once told to be more realistic was now the only thing standing between life and death for a man who had just insulted him. Marcus did not think about the word kid anymore. He did not think about the past. He focused on the present. His hands moved with skill. His mind worked fast. because this was never about proving someone wrong. It was about proving himself right. And in the next few minutes, the truth about who he really was would become impossible to ignore. The heart monitor screamed louder than before. The sharp beeping sound filled the small hospital room like an alarm no one could ignore. Nurses rushed in. A crash cart rolled quickly across the floor. Everything that felt slow before was now moving fast. Mr. Thompson's breathing became weak and broken. His face lost color. The anger that once filled his eyes was gone. Now there was only fear. Dr. Marcus stood at the bedside, focused and steady. Inside, his heart was beating fast. But his face stayed calm. His voice stayed strong. His heart rhythm is unstable, Marcus said clearly. Prepare for possible cardiac arrest. The nurse nodded quickly. Mr. Thompson tried to speak, but the oxygen mask covered his mouth. His hands trembled as they reached out blindly. He grabbed Marcus's wrist, the same wrist he had refused just minutes earlier. His eyes searched Marcus's face. There was no pride left. No judgment, only desperation. Please, he whispered weakly through the mask. That one word changed the room. Marcus leaned closer. I'm here, he said firmly. Stay with me. The heart monitor numbers dropped suddenly. Pulse is falling, a nurse said. Marcus made a fast decision. Start chest compressions. Get the defibrillator ready. Everything happened in seconds. The machine was prepared. The pads were placed carefully on Mr. Thompson's chest. Clear, Marcus said. The shock went through the man's body. His body jerked slightly. The room fell silent for one long second. Everyone stared at the monitor. The line jumped, then flattened again. Again, Marcus ordered calmly. Another shock. Another long second of silence. In that moment, there was no race, no age, no ego. There was only life and death. Marcus's training took control. Years of study, long nights in medical school, endless practice during emergency drills. All of it led to this moment. He remembered a professor once telling him, in emergencies, emotions wait. Skill speaks first. And now skill was speaking. Heart rhythm returning, the nurse said suddenly. The monitor showed a weak but steady beat. Marcus quickly checked the pulse. It was faint, but it was there. Continue oxygen. Monitor closely, he said. Mr. Thompson's body relaxed slightly. His breathing became more stable. The danger was not fully gone, but the worst moment had passed. The room slowly became quieter. The staff looked at Marcus differently now. Not as the young doctor, not as someone new, but as the leader who had just taken control when everyone else felt fear. After a few minutes, Mr. Thompson opened his eyes slowly. His vision was blurry at first, his mind confused. But when his eyes focused, the first face he saw was Dr. Marcus. The same face he had doubted, the same face he had insulted. Marcus stood beside him, checking the monitor carefully. You're stable now, Marcus said calmly. You had a serious heart event. We acted quickly. Mr. Thompson swallowed slowly. His voice was weak. You saved me? Marcus did not smile proudly. He did not show anger either. We did our job, he answered simply. But Mr. Thompson kept looking at him. His mind replayed what had just happened. He remembered refusing treatment. He remembered saying, "Send me a real doctor." And then he remembered fear. He remembered holding Marcus's wrist like a child afraid of the dark. Tears slowly formed in the corners of his eyes. For the first time in many years, Mr. Thompson felt small. Not because of weakness, but because of truth. Outside the room, two nurses whispered quietly. "I've never seen him move that fast," one said. "He was so calm," the other replied. "Like he knew exactly what to do." Because he did. Marcus stepped outside the room for a moment. He leaned against the hallway wall and took a slow breath. His hands finally felt the stress. Not from fear, but from something deeper. He had been tested many times in life. Tested in classrooms. Tested by teachers. Tested by strangers. But this test was different. It was not about grades. It was not about proving intelligence. It was about character. He could have stepped away earlier. He could have asked another doctor to take the case. He could have let pride answer pride. But he did not, because saving lives was bigger than personal pain. Inside the room, Mr. Thompson lay quietly, staring at the ceiling. For 70 years, he had carried certain beliefs. Beliefs he never questioned. Beliefs he never challenged. But now those beliefs were shaking, because the man he had judged without knowing had just given him another chance to breathe. And in that quiet hospital room, something much bigger than a medical emergency had happened. A heart had stopped, and another kind of heart had begun to change. The emergency was over, but the room did not feel normal again. Machines still beeped softly. The oxygen mask moved slowly with each breath Mr. Thompson took. The lights above his bed seemed brighter than before, but the loud fear was gone. Now there was silence. Not an empty silence. A heavy one. Dr. Marcus stood at the foot of the bed, reading the updated chart. His face was calm again, professional, controlled. Inside, however, he felt something different. Not anger, not pride, something quieter. He had faced many difficult patients before. He had heard disrespect before. But something about this moment felt deeper, because today, the insult and the emergency were connected. The same man who had refused him had trusted him with his life only minutes later. Marcus finished writing notes and turned toward the bed. Mr. Thompson was awake. His eyes followed Marcus slowly. There was no anger left in them. No stubborn look. Just thought. Marcus walked closer. "You're stable now," he said gently. "We'll keep monitoring you for the next few hours. The cardiology team will run more tests." Mr. Thompson nodded slightly. His voice came out weak but clear. "I remember." Marcus waited. "I said something before all this." Marcus did not respond right away. He had learned something important in his career. Sometimes silence allows truth to grow. Mr. Thompson swallowed slowly. "I called you a kid." The word sounded smaller now. Not powerful. Not proud. Small. Marcus gave a small nod. "Yes." The room felt tight again. But this time it was not tension. It was honesty. Mr. Thompson stared at the ceiling for a few seconds before speaking again. "I've lived a long time," he said quietly. 70 years. I grew up in a different world." Marcus listened. "I was taught things when I was young," the old man continued. "Things about who should lead, who should follow, who should be trusted." His breathing stayed steady now. "But today," he paused, his voice shaking slightly. "Today, the man I doubted was the only one keeping me alive." Marcus did not smile. He did not show victory. He simply stood there. "I judged you before you spoke," Mr. Thompson admitted. "Before you touched a single machine. I decided who you were in 1 second." His eyes finally met Marcus's again. "And I was wrong." Those 3 words felt powerful in the quiet room. Marcus had heard many patients thank him before. But this was different. This was not gratitude. This was growth. "I appreciate your honesty," Marcus said softly. Mr. Thompson studied his face. "You didn't walk away," the old man said. "You could have." Marcus thought about that for a moment. "Yes," he said honestly. "I could have." He did not say it with pride. He said it with truth. "But I became a doctor for moments like that," Marcus continued. "Not to be respected first, but to save lives first." Mr. Thompson's eyes filled with tears again. "I spent my whole life thinking strength looked one way," he whispered. "Today I learned I was wrong." The monitor beeped gently beside him. For the first time, those beeps felt peaceful. Marcus pulled a chair closer to the bed and sat down. He did not need to rush. He did not need to prove anything. He had already done that. "Change is not easy," Marcus said calmly. "But it is possible." Mr. Thompson gave a small nod. "I don't know if I deserve your help after what I said." Marcus looked at him directly. "My job is not to decide who deserves help," he replied. "My job is to give it." Outside the room, the nurses watched quietly through the glass window. They had seen everything. The insult, the emergency, the rescue. And now this conversation. One nurse whispered softly, "That's real strength." Inside the room, Mr. Thompson seemed lighter, not physically, but emotionally. For years, he had carried old ideas without questioning them. Today, life forced him to question everything. And the man who could have answered with anger answered with calm instead. Marcus stood up slowly. "We'll take good care of you," he said. "Rest now." As he walked toward the door, Mr. Thompson spoke again. "Doctor." Marcus turned. "Thank you," the old man said, his voice steady this time. "Not just for saving my heart." Marcus understood what he meant. He gave a small nod and stepped into the hallway. The door closed quietly behind him. For a moment, Marcus stood alone in the hallway. He felt tired, but not weak. He felt proud, but not loud, because sometimes the greatest victories are silent ones. And today, something bigger than a medical crisis had happened. A life was saved, and a belief was broken. News travels fast inside a hospital. Not loud news, not gossip shouted across rooms, but quiet stories that move from nurse to nurse, from doctor to doctor. By the end of the afternoon, everyone in Mercy General Hospital knew what had happened in room 214. They knew about the insult. They knew about the emergency. And they knew who saved the patient. Dr. Marcus did not tell anyone. He never did. He simply continued his work as if nothing unusual had happened. He checked on other patients. He reviewed lab results. He spoke gently with worried families. His face stayed calm. But the nurses looked at him differently now. Not because they doubted him before, but because they had seen something powerful. They had seen control under pressure. They had seen dignity under disrespect. And they had seen leadership without ego. In the break room, two nurses sat quietly with coffee cups in their hands. "I've worked here 15 years, one of them said softly. "I've seen doctors lose their temper over small things." The other nodded. "But he didn't," she replied. "Not even for a second." Meanwhile, in room 214, Mr. Thompson lay awake. He could not sleep. His body felt weak, but his mind felt loud. The ceiling above him looked the same as it had that morning. But he was not the same man who had looked at it earlier. He replayed everything again in his mind. The moment he said, "Send me a real doctor." The moment fear replaced pride. The moment he held Marcus's wrist. And the moment he realized the man he doubted was the one fighting for his life. Mr. Thompson had always believed he was strong. He had worked hard his entire life, built a small business, raised a family, paid his bills. But now he understood something new. Strength is not about being loud. It is about being right. And today he had been wrong. Later that evening, his daughter Emily arrived at the hospital. She rushed into the room with tears in her eyes. "Dad, are you okay?" "I'm stable," he answered quietly. The nurse explained what had happened. She described the emergency. She described how quickly Dr. Marcus had acted. Emily listened carefully. "Who is the doctor?" she asked. "Dr. Williams," the nurse replied with a small smile. "He saved your father's life." Emily nodded with gratitude. "I want to thank him," she said. Mr. Thompson shifted slightly in his bed. His voice became serious. "Emily," he said slowly, "there's something I need to tell you first." She looked at him with concern. "I was wrong today," he continued. She frowned slightly. "Wrong about what?" "I judged the doctor before he even spoke." Emily stayed silent. Mr. Thompson looked at his hands. "I called him a kid," he admitted. "Told him to get someone else." Emily's face fell. "Dad." "I know," he said softly. "And then when my heart started failing, he didn't hesitate. He didn't walk away. He paused. He saved me anyway." Emily's eyes filled with tears. "Did you apologize?" she asked gently. Mr. Thompson nodded. "Yes, but I don't think words are enough." Across the hallway, Dr. Marcus was finishing his final patient check. Another senior doctor approached him. "I heard about room 214, the senior doctor said calmly. Marcus gave a small nod. "You handled it well." "Thank you," Marcus replied politely. The senior doctor studied him for a moment. You showed something today that can't be taught in medical school. Marcus looked curious. What's that? He asked. Character. The word stayed with Marcus as he walked down the hallway. He did not feel like a hero. He felt like a doctor who had simply done his duty. But sometimes, doing your duty when you are disrespected is the hardest part. That night, as the hospital lights dimmed and the noise became softer, something had changed inside its walls. Not because of a dramatic speech, not because of punishment, but because of example. The story of what happened in room 214 would not be remembered as a conflict. It would be remembered as a lesson that respect is not demanded. It is earned. And sometimes, the person we doubt the most becomes the person we depend on the most. In his hospital bed, Mr. Thompson closed his eyes. For the first time in years, he questioned his old beliefs. And for the first time in years, he was willing to change them. Because the truth had reached beyond his heart. It had reached his pride. And broken it gently. Morning sunlight slowly entered room 214. The night had been quiet. Mr. Thompson slept more peacefully than anyone expected. His heart rhythm was stable. His breathing steady. But his mind had not rested. He had made a decision. Not a small one. A real one. Across the hospital, Dr. Marcus was starting his shift again. He reviewed reports and checked updates. He did not think much about yesterday. For him, every day brought new patients and new challenges. He walked down the hallway when a nurse stopped him. Doctor, she said gently, Mr. Thompson is asking for you. Marcus paused for a moment, then nodded. He walked toward room 214. Inside, Mr. Thompson was sitting up slightly in his bed. His daughter Emily stood beside him. There was something different in the room today. It did not feel tense. Felt serious. Marcus entered calmly. Good morning. How are you feeling today? Stronger, Mr. Thompson answered. His voice was clearer now. Marcus checked the monitor briefly. Everything looked good. Your numbers are improving, he said. That's good news. Mr. Thompson took a slow breath. Doctor, he began. I didn't call you here to talk about numbers. Marcus looked at him quietly. Emily stepped slightly to the side, giving her father space. I have lived 70 years, Mr. Thompson said slowly. And in those 70 years, I believed I understood people. He paused. But yesterday showed me that I understood very little. The room stayed silent. I disrespected you, he continued, not because of what you said, not because of what you did, but because of who I thought you were. Marcus did not interrupt. I was wrong, Mr. Thompson said again, and not just in a small way. I was wrong in a deep way. His daughter watched him carefully. She had never seen her father speak like this. I want to apologize, Mr. Thompson said firmly, not only to you, but in front of anyone who heard what I said. Marcus felt something shift inside him. Many people say sorry quietly. Very few choose to say it publicly. You don't owe me anything, Marcus replied gently. Yes, I do, Mr. Thompson answered. He turned toward the door. Could you call the nurses in? He asked Emily. Within a few minutes, 2 nurses stepped inside. They looked confused but curious. Mr. Thompson cleared his throat. Yesterday, he said, I spoke disrespectfully to Dr. Williams. The nurses exchanged a quick glance. I judged him before I knew him, Mr. Thompson continued. And when my life depended on him, he showed me what real strength looks like. His voice became emotional. I was raised with ideas that I never questioned. Yesterday, those ideas nearly cost me my life. The room became very still. I want to say this clearly, Mr. Thompson said. The best doctor in this room yesterday was the one I doubted. The nurses looked at Marcus with quiet pride. Emily wiped a tear from her cheek. Marcus felt many emotions at once. Not pride, not victory, relief, because this was bigger than an apology. This was change. Mr. Thompson looked directly at Marcus. You didn't just save my heart, he said. You helped me see my own. Marcus took a slow breath. I appreciate your words, he replied calmly. But what matters most is that you're recovering. Mr. Thompson gave a small smile. I will recover, he said, and I will think differently from now on. After a few more moments, the nurses quietly stepped out. Emily followed, giving her father and the doctor one last private moment. I can't undo what I believed before, Mr. Thompson said softly, but I can choose better from today. Marcus nodded. That's enough, he answered. As Marcus walked out of the room, something felt lighter in the hallway, not because someone won, but because something healed. Later that afternoon, staff members spoke quietly about what had happened. It takes courage to admit you were wrong, one nurse said. Another replied, and it takes even more courage to stay calm when someone disrespects you. Dr. Marcus did not repeat the story. He did not post about it. He did not seek praise. But inside the hospital walls, something had changed. Respect no longer came from silence, came from truth. And sometimes the greatest victory is not saving a life. It is helping a heart learn.